Well, thanks for clicking on to the Sunday edition of VOGAN'S Views in Europe. As expected, we've got some very wet and windy weather now impacting Northern Ireland, Scotland, and that will eventually work through the northern half of England over the course of later this afternoon and this evening. Now, the GFS is showing a rapidly deepening area of low pressure that's just south of Iceland that will be pushing eastwards. As it does so, it's got a very large wind field, so therefore the winds are going to increase across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the north of England through this afternoon and this evening. How strong are we talking? We could be talking about wind gusts in central Scotland, so that's the M8 corridor, Glasgow to Edinburgh, of 40 to 60 mile per hour quite easily out of the southwest. Up into the Highlands, we could be talking, 60 to 80 mile per hour across the Highlands and the Northern Isles. And in particular, the Northern Islands could be a concern area for storm force winds later this afternoon. Now, why are we seeing this very deep area of low pressure that goes from initially 998 to 970 in millibars? I repeat that, 998 millibars right down to 970 within a 21-hour period is extremely powerful and dangerous at the same time, because you've got that bundling of energy, that increase in this deepening, tightening up of this low. Thankfully, it's not over Scotland, by the way, but we've already seen wind gusts at Annaghmur, just 2 miles east of Ben Nevis, of 108 mile an hour. Don't be surprised, folks, if we're looking at a gust of 120 mile an hour this afternoon on top of Cairngorm Summit, because you've got that elevation over 4,000 feet. That is, of course, pushing into the more mid-latitude, I've said mid-latitudes yesterday, I mean the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And of course you've got that strong support of jet stream winds aloft. When you've got a strong upper level low, very close to where the surface low is, that is where you've got that rapid and maximum upward motion. So the atmosphere is very turbulent, and of course when you've got that alignment of winds, you can basically transfer some of that upper level energy down through the mid and low levels. And that is what we could see this afternoon across anywhere from the Northern Isles, the Western Isles, the North Mainland, down into the central parts of Scotland. We could be talking about winds in the 4,000 to 6,000 foot level of well over 100 to 120 mile per hour. So we've got a dangerous situation, especially over the higher ground. Thankfully, we don't have many people live in the higher reaches of Scotland. But this afternoon, we could be talking about some very impressive wind gusts, and even down at low levels, we could be talking about 70 to 80 mile an hour across the far reaches of northern Scotland this afternoon. But like I say, very heavy rain as well. We've seen a report of the Met Office of over an inch within a 4-hour period at Lusa and Skye, and those high rainfall rates are going to increase this afternoon as those rains continue to pile in off the northwest Atlantic. But certainly some very impressive weather to speak of in the next 24 hours or so. I'm going to show you here of the basically this is the current satellite image of the Met Office website. You can see the setup here that's taking place. You've got a band of cloud here stretching from northwest Russia right down through Italy. You can see here the brighter cloud tops here, especially across North Italy and in towards the Balkan nations. What's taking place here is we've got plenty of hot weather, and we've got a trough, so energy in the mid and upper levels is sparking sharp and very strong thunderstorms. So they're going to dump very heavy rain, produce some gusty winds as well, lots of thunder and lightning associated with that as well. But you've got a very warm, humid environment with this energy in the mid and upper levels pushing down into this warm, humid environment. So we're going to see showers and thunderstorms continue across this region, and of course this separates cooler, drier air to the north and northwest with warm, humid air that's flowing from the Mediterranean northwards up through the Ukraine and into Russia as well. You also see the avoidance of cloud cover across Iberia. What we're seeing is that very strong area of high pressure in the upper levels producing 100-degree heat across southern Spain, 90s all the way up into Madrid, and that warmth was extending up into southern Spain, but with the trough sinking southwards, that's now killing that heat across southern and central France. But the heat is going to continue over Spain, the clouds and showers, thunderstorms roaming around this area of high pressure. And we are going to continue to see that over the next several days. Notice the big band of cloud here. This is associated with that area of low pressure that's just south of Iceland. That will continue to push east. As it does so, it's going to rapidly increase in strength, like I've alluded to already. This is off the surface pressure chart of the GFS using the Meteor Group website. You can see here the initial pressure with the surface low is down to 998. Not a big deal, but if I skip through, you can continue to see as it treks to the east how much it deepens. It's now down to 998, 975. 18 hours, it's down to 975. 21 hours, it's already showing 970 in millibars. That is a very impressive area of deepening low pressure. Dangerous indeed. Why is that the case? Well, if we skip through to the upper level chart of the ECMWF, should I say, you can see what's taking place here. We've got plenty of cold air across to the north over Greenland, over the very far North Atlantic, and with the combination of this very cold and seasonably cold air, in fact, across the north, very warm air over the central and North Atlantic, and of course we've got that pocket of intense heat over Spain. What that's doing is it's increasing the jet stream over the North Atlantic. And of course, this jet is what harnesses the development of storm systems. As we progress from Sunday and into Monday, you notice here, very powerful upper level low. The actual surface low is very close underneath this upper low. What that will do is it's going to feed off each other's energy in the low and upper levels. That will increase and rapidly deepen this low. Notice how the cold air on the northwest side of the low is now getting fed down from a very strong jet stream. That's going to push into the UK. It's going to produce very chilly air in the backside by Monday and into Tuesday. But you notice here the warmth versus the cold tightly packed together. That increases the jet stream, and that is what harnesses the rapid deepening. It's the contrast between the warmth to the south, the cold to the north. That means very strong storms can develop here. You notice here over Central Europe, the cooling down over Germany, over Poland, down into the north of Italy. We've got the continuation of stormy conditions across the northern half of Italy, warmer to the south. Warmth over the Mediterranean basin, and look at the heat continuing to feed up from northwest Africa into southern and central parts of Portugal and Spain. So the heat's going to continue there. By Monday and into Tuesday, we can see here the trough really drops down, pulling cold air in the middle levels, Arctic origin air down across the UK and Ireland by Tuesday. The heat continues over Spain and Portugal. We see much cooler conditions now across much of Europe, and we can see here that we are going to see a very chilly air mass once again pushing down as this system starts to push towards Scandinavia. Now, I am concerned as well about some early to midweek frosty conditions by night. We'll see clear skies, winds lighten up, and of course we've got plenty of cold air in the mid-levels that would support away from towns and cities temperatures well below freezing. Frost and ice is a concern yet again, and it's certainly been alluded to for the past several days, that situation here. By Wednesday, you notice here the feeding of cold air from Greenland all the way down through the UK with a northwesterly flow. The heat continues, like I say, over Spain and Portugal. And through Thursday, you can see here the heat expanding up through Iberia, so the heat is going nowhere. If anything, it's actually intensifying over the Iberian Peninsula here. The trough starting to push slightly further east, so therefore we're going to see a stronger push of colder air in the central portions of the continent. By Friday, you can see here, and this is something I alluded to several days ago, that the heat actually does push away from Iberia as that trough pushes east. And it actually wouldn't surprise me if we see by next weekend some very warm conditions over Italy. Now, it doesn't show that off the ECMWF, but it's going to chop and change as it always does so as you progress through the upcoming week. But you can see a very wild pattern, thankfully for the southern half of the British Isles and the southern part of Ireland as well. This system and the rain and the strong winds are going to start to weaken as it progresses down further south over the next several hours. England and Wales is not going to see those powerful winds and the biggest rains like we're seeing across Scotland, and we continue to see this pattern continue. I'm repeating myself now, but you can see here that we're going to continue to see this unsettled pattern. The trough over the west, the ridge in the east, the heat continuing across Spain, and of course down into Africa. And I don't see any change for the rest of May. If anything, perhaps at the very end of May, we might start to see that ridge trying to work its way from the southwestern Europe northwards in the UK. But at the moment, there's no evidence to support that. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye for now.